ready to move on. Let's
Yes.
move on to something very positive and very exciting, because we've had some bad news today, and that is something that I was teasing about a couple of months ago, but it is finally here, and I'm going to hold it up, Dr. Paul. This is Ron Paul's new mini book. You know, he's come out with a few of these. His finger is always on the pulse of what's happening. This one is called COVID, Wokeism, and the Cultural Marxist Threat, Making Sense of Current Political Idiocies. I edited this book, so I know every word that's in it. This is absolutely tremendous book. And as we've done in the past, we're offering it as a premium to those that will support the Ron Paul Institute with a tax-deductible donation. Those who make a donation of $50 or more will get a copy of this book, and those that make a donation of $100 or more will get a copy. I'm sorry, Dr. Paul, to say this, hand-signed by Ron Paul. You got to go back to the sweatshop and sign. But let's talk a little bit about this booklet, because I think it's at the perfect time it's come out, and it talks about everything that we face, and it ties everything together with the wokeism, the cultural Marxism, the COVID tyranny.
Yeah, and you know, in doing this, I've had some thoughts that were supposedly important to me, but they became clearer because people kept asking me, why do they do this? You know, why? Why will business people do what they do? Why does the businessman, let's say the owner of a baseball team, why does he, you know, capitulate and make sure that the stadiums are empty? Yeah. You know, why are they so political? And I get into this whole fact of a collusion between big business and the Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve has a lot of control over big corporations. They can help them or they can hurt them, so they do what they're told. And if they have to vaccinate and come across with these irrational ideas of everybody's going to be vaccinated and all this, they do it because there's a tremendous amount of pressure on them. But the other thing that I tried to come to grips with, especially myself, and that is, you know, the principle of nihilism. Yeah. And the principle of seeking truth. And I was introduced to some of these things when I was reading and studying Goethe and Faust, you know, back in the old days. And it comes to light in understanding this, because I still ask the question that I think I have a partial answer to. So everybody's asking, why are they doing this? It's so stupid. They'll do things that hurts themselves. Yeah. But if you look at Marxism and the principles of Marxism, I think I make a statement in there, the Marxist ideas today are very similar to the ideas of Marx. Yeah. You know, even though it's been up and down, and authoritarianism, that is it. So the ideas of Marxism actually existed before Marx. So they can continue to do this, but it boils down to why do they do it? And a nihilist, you have to understand, a nihilist has no sense of shame. They have no conscience. And when I look at the politicians up there, how many times have you seen a politician say, you know, I was mistaken, I was misled, and I voted for that war, and that war was a disaster, it was wrong, and they lied to me. Yeah. How often does that happen? We only have a very few, but we have a few people that believe that. But basically, you become a hero. We had a president, as he moved into office, he said, you know, the most important thing to be a great president, you have to have a war, be a conqueror. So that's a little bit of the story.
Well, you know, what's interesting is you go into some dark figures who are lurking in the shadows in this. You talk a little bit about Larry Fink in the book, and that's fascinating. Yeah,
that is part of that Federal Reserve control of the business community. Larry Fink was really, he brought that to my attention by our former friend, you know, our friend that's passed away, Bob Weinzel, and he pointed this out, and it was a book written by this, and Fink manages more money than any other one individual, and it's approaching. When I started watching what he was doing, it was like $6 trillion he's managing the funds, which means he can buy and sell and maneuver, and now it's closer to $10 trillion, and he's in charge of distributing. When the Federal Reserve decides to distribute $5 trillion, he's involved in the buying and selling these bonds, so he can make or break these companies. So that's why they're obedient. It just happens that he's in this financial position, and his personal belief, he's a radical environmentalist, weather guy, you know, climate changer.
Yeah.
So that gets worked into it. But he can get people to do pretty much what they want because he can manipulate their prices, he can close them down, and that's why big companies will roll over. And one thing when I read more about Fink was that, you know what, he qualifies to have a pretty high position in the deep state.
Yeah, in the deep state. Well, let's put on this last clip because I'll tell everyone how they can make your donation and get a copy of this great new mini book. This is the Ron Paul Institute website, ronpaulinstitute.org. Just click that button you'll see there toward the right on the top called Support. You can make your donation on a secure page there. You can make it online or you can send a check. There'll be an address there to click on. This is a limited time offer, and it's also a limited printing of Dr. Paul's new book. Let's have a look at it again. Here is the cover. It's a great book, and it literally, unlike most things, it lives up to its title because you really do make sense of the current idiocies. Because I was wondering, before I read this, why are these corporations going woke? It doesn't make any sense. You really explain it in here in a way that makes perfect sense. So you're going to want to have this book. It's a limited time offer. You're going to want to give copies of a signed book. We'll get it out to you by Christmas if you act very soon and get this out. So again, making sense of current political idiocies, Ron Paul's new mini book. You're going to love it.
Very good.
Over
Thank
to you, Dr. Paul.
Thank you.